We are about to start our meeting, and we start with a message from the book, The Way, the Truth, and the Life. The message is effort, and sending the crowd, he went up onto a mountain, away from the others, in order to pray. And when the evening came, he was there alone. Matthew 14:23. From time to time, religious groups appear that preach complete withdrawal from human struggles in order to the work of prayer. In this particular, however, the Master continues to be the fount of living instruction. Work and prayer were two characteristics of his divine activity. Jesus did not keep himself isolated from people in order to remain in full contemplation of the divine realities. He cultivated prayer in all its fortuneness. Nonetheless, when he set the crowd away after having finished his work for the day, he set aside some time to meditate by himself, communing with the Father in solitary, sublime prayer. All who are on earth are there for the purpose of reaching a higher level of evolution, by means of the work they have been called to do, and through prayer they receive indispensable help from God for the sanctification of their task. Work and prayer complement each other in every spiritual activity. Those who do nothing but work, without method or rest, will end up in despair, in a dreadful dryness of heart. Those who do nothing but spend all their time on their knees will be in danger of succumbing to inertia and idleness. Prayer illuminates work, and work is like a book of light for the spiritualized life. Mind your duties, because that is why you are in the world. But never forget that mountain located in your highest sentiments, so that you may pray away from the others, as the Lord used to do.
Dear God, we thank you for the opportunity of being here, together with friends, for the study of the Spirit's book. May we take this chance to learn with our model and guide, Jesus, to be more patient, to forgive more, and to love more. May we take this opportunity, this new reincarnation, to be active in life, always working for our own good and the good of others. May we choose to be active here, present in this study, to make the changes necessary for us to evolve and to learn. So be it.
Welcome all of us here, incarnate and all of those in spirit, brothers and sisters in humanity. Grant this grateful opportunity for us to carry on studying about the natural laws of life within the Spirit's book, which are presented by questions and answers and answered by the Enlightened Spirits. As learners of ourselves, as learners in the universe as we all are, we are in the chapter Hopes and Consolations, where we are studying for quite a while. And we are under the sub-item where we finished today, Nothingness, the Future Life. Because we are coming to the end of this question, which we weren't able last week, and then we follow the next one. For us to carry on the question 959, just to remind yourself, question 900, the future life. Where does our instinctive sentiment of future life that comes already as immortal beings as we are, that is with us, because we are not a physical body. We are three-dimensional beings, essentially spirit who have a spiritual body and a physical body. So we bring those memories from previous experiences and also from the reality that we all have been created by God as children of the Creator, and we bring within the natural laws of life within our consciousness. So carry on now towards the last bits of the note regarding the question 959. We go through and then we finish this question. So today, the first part of the note says, those who will have to spend many years in a foreign country concern themselves with the situation in which they will find themselves. So why do we not concern ourselves with the situation we will face when we leave this world behind, since it will be forever? So remember the question, if we go through, for us to reflect, where does our instinctive sentiment of the future life comes from? And here we are now coming to the end, reflecting the note. What do we learn through this bit of the note? Or what comes to our minds when we read, when we heard it? That will be the major learning for us in this part of the note.
I think it's bringing us the knowledge to prepare ourselves for what is more important. We prepare ourselves for so many things on earth, considering small changes or small times we may be alive in our real life, which is not spending so much time taking care of things here, but taking care of my soul, of me.
Precisely. So it's very important, the point that you raised is really helping us to reflect as immortal beings, as spirits who are temporary in the flesh and temporarily on earth, learning about the immortality of the soul, where we inherit ourselves once we free ourselves from the physical body. So focus more on the spiritual aspects of our learning here on earth, so that we dematerialize ourselves more and free ourselves more, let's say, from the illusions that we built throughout centuries. And now, granted with this opportunity, we can help ourselves to understand there is no such a thing as nothingness. Everything is alive in the world. And then we are referring to the future life, which is the next part of our existence once we free from the physical body, and also from the next existences, because according how we are living here, how we are interacting in this existence with the experiences, this is how we will end up be in the future.
Yeah. I believe for us the difficulty lies on experiencing the things we learn and we seeing every day, because we may come across a study or a book or a lecture or something that bring us enlightenment of how to be more within myself, how to be more connected to God. But then when I go back into my routine or my daily efforts, then I lose myself again on the errands I do every day, and I may not find the peace and constantness of elevating myself, of being in prayer, of being in connected more spiritually with everything I do, but within the real reason, not just I'm doing this because I need to finish or because I need the money.
On an automatic level. Yeah?
Yes.
Yes. So we need to educate ourselves spiritually while we are in the flesh and carry on our normal tasks, whatever they are. We re-educate ourselves that we are still more on the spiritual reality in the way that we think while we are interacting and carry on our tasks on the physical level. Anything else?
Two things came to my mind. The first is it's an interesting question because most of the time, I think for me, I spend a lot of time thinking about the past or thinking about the future, but not in this sense about the future in life, but thinking about other things. I think it's a good question for us to start to think and like immortal spirits.
Precise, and also between lines we can read here, learn to trust in God. When we reverse this bit, as you mentioned, I may think about the future in this existence, but then I may be looking at it from this existence, and then I end up being disturbed. Yes, but when we refer to the future life, means in relation to the natural laws in life, which are guided by God. So it's learning to develop faith, it's learning to develop confidence in God. So we go through experiences, sometimes we may not know pretty much where they go, but when we learn and educate or re-educate ourselves spiritually, That is part for us as creatures, learn to trust the Creator, even in situations sometimes that we may not know what it will be.
Yeah.
That is surrounding ourselves, yes?
For me, the hardest thing is to develop more of the faith in God, in life, to trust more the process. Because if I think about after death, after the, sorry, if I think, after I pass, then what
The
comes,
disincarnation.
the disincarnation, what comes to my mind is where I'm going with all this I'm bringing with me, because I have so many issues I haven't came over yet. They still very deep and rooted inside me, and I do recognize many of them. And then I get a bit desperate, thinking I'm going straight into some place. It's going to be harder than it's here. And what is going to be of me if I don't use the time I'm having now to learn these things? And then I get like, I need to learn, I need to do it, I need to practice, and I need to calm myself down and bring the faith in God.
Yes,
Say,
I think
I
first,
won't be alone, I won't be left there.
I think first what you need to do, change the need, I choose to, instead of I need to. Because the need to refers to obligation, which develops tension. The choose is an inner freedom choice, where we realize, where we reflect, where we think about ourselves, oh my God, where will I end up after I free myself from the physical body, regarding where I am now? Well, let's think, let's me bring back to the present, and let's choose to do the best that I can in every day without excuses. No complaint in relation to the past, neither anxiety in relation to the future, but the focus is in the present, and be willing to do each day, each moment better than we did previously. That is the way forward. Okay? So now let's move on then the next bit. The idea of nothingness is somewhat repugnant to reason. When those who are the most unconcerned in this life arrive at the final moment, they ask themselves what will become of them, and they wait for it against their will. To believe in God without accepting a future life would be nonsense. The sentiment of a better life is to be found in the inner being of all, and God did not place it there needless. So what is this part telling us regarding our learning?
I think it's bringing to us the reasoning that if I believe in God, how can I not believe in the afterlife? If I believe that everything is being guided by Him, how can I believe that is for no purpose? Life will just go through the material needs and finish. So like as I said, there's nonsense if we question ourselves in this way.
It's interesting that this final notes regarding the question 959 is under the chapter Hopes and Consolations. And following your reasoning, when we realize that we have one life but many different existences, and life continues after this physical existence, that brings us quite lots of consolations in relation to those who may depart before us, for those experiences that seen from a materialistic level onwards could bring us despair. But looking from a continuation of a process that brings us hopes and consolations, that no one will die, nothing is forever here on earth, everything is transitory, and we are all learning in the different experiences that we undertake. Okay. Let's go through then. I think it is the final one. Cynthia, would you like the experiences that we undertake? Okay. Let's go through then. I think it is the final one. Cynthia, would you like to read it for us, please?
The future life implies the preservation of our individuality after death. What good would it do to survive the body if our moral essence must be lost in the ocean of the infinite? The consequence being the same as nothingness.
Okay. What do we understand now with this final paragraph of the note, question 959? I think the first phrase is very important for us when they say the future life implies the preservation. Let's explore that for us and all of those in the spirit who may be studying with us, perhaps never heard of it, perhaps they may think when we die everything is finished, and as we already lived in the past, So what comes to our minds when we heard that first phrase?
So maybe it comes then that whatever evolution, whatever learns I make, I will take them with me. They are my gathering, and I'm not going back into one individuality, that I lose my own, that I lose my things I've worked for, I've learned. I won't be just a part of a whole something. I will be an individual part of the whole something, which is I will still be me and be able to learn more and develop more, but I will be part of the whole.
I will be part of the whole in terms of the universal family,
Yes.
but we are keeping our individuality. And why are we keeping our individuality after our physical death?
I believe it's because we've been created already as an individual,
Yes.
and we're learning and developing, which doesn't mean that when I finish or as I gradually go evolving, it doesn't mean I'm going back into something or into God or into a wholeness, that I will lose everything or I'm just evolving to become something else. No, I'm evolving to gradually understand more and be able for more, enlighten more, not just to become something.
I think Kardec explains it clearly in the introduction when he talks about the soul. But there was, I think there is one doctrine which I cannot don't remember which one it is, which is that when we cease will go back to the whole.
Yes.
But this is not the case because
No.
we are
Being created by God in a unique way, individual way, and we will carry on developing our individuality as we progress all as immortal beings. What good would it do to survive the body if our moral essence must be lost in the ocean of the infinite? I think this question is very important. Why is this question so important? Is that helping us here to refer to the moral values? Because quite often we can question ourselves on earth, what is the point? Why should I be changing? Why should I improve myself? Why should I become better? Why should I learn to be humble? Why should I learn to be loving? Why should I learn to be fraternal? Because there's so many crimes and bad things happening. Here we have the answer by the enlightened beings, that we will survive and also will survive our own values that each and every one of us conquer through the efforts and persistence that we do in terms of developing our virtues. The consequence of that would be the same as nothingness, which we know does not exist in the universe.
For me, the first time I read that, what came to me was the example that Cynthia was mentioning, the other doctrines that teach we like um, drips of the ocean and one same water. And then what came to my mind was that would, if that teaches in that way, I can think that I will be sand, a little dot of sand. So if I'm in the sun, then I still am that little bit. And that's what it brought me the difference. I'm not a drip in the ocean, I'm a dot in the sand. Because although I evolve enough and I go back to the wholeness, I will still have my individuality.
Yes.
And that was how I could differentiate it. Because otherwise I'm learning and I'm going back, then how can I, and then it came to me that the water may be all, even if I take it away, if I put back, I cannot differentiate with a
Whatever the course helps us, but it's really stimulating us when we realize that we are all unique, and whatever we learn in a unique way that is part of ourselves, even when we free ourselves from the physical body, we will not lose that knowledge. We will not lose the values on an ethical and moral level. Those are part of us as we continue to evolve.
because I have lots of difficulties with my rebellion of doing and thinking. So every time I question why, why um, learn my way, why have I forgot in English the word, but why I need to do everything my way and learn and learn and learn to learn to do it the right way. God put me to do it the right way. And then I said, I don't have a choice. I must do it. If I want it or I don't want it, I have to do it. And then I bring back to me that it's not I have to, is I want to learn, I want to be able, I want to be part of this evolution. So it's not that God implied that onto me.
No,
It's
not any one of
I
us.
choose. And although here I may not be able to see that and facing my difficulties, I want to escape from it and not do the efforts. So I bring this up home. And it comes many times, facing many different things. It comes like, why I need to go through this. Just
So let's explain, why do we need to go through our experiences in a unique way? Why?
Because we are unique.
We are unique, yes, but why do if I follow Claudinice, why couldn't God create us already perfect? And He created us simple and ignorant, and then He left us in the universe, yeah? He's just, and what does it mean?
It means He created all of us at the same starting point, but then we have free will, and depends on our choices where we go from there.
Correct, and what does the use of free will bring as a consequence?
It does.
What brings it as a consequence? The merits. We need to work. That is the word that you were looking at, because we have been given the faculty of free will already by God, so that we learn now in the stage where we are to use it in a responsible way according to the natural laws in the universe, and in that way we have as a consequence the merit of our achievements.
Yeah.
We would never have the merit if somebody else would do that to us. And God didn't create us to have us as servants. God created us as divine beings in the universe, helping us to promote ourselves from within. And then as more as we engage in putting the efforts into and persist in learning and also to change our behaviors, engage in putting the efforts into and persist in learning and also to change our behaviors according to what is the real values and love, then we have the merit as a peaceful consciousness. We become more peaceful, healthier, and as we learn more and more, we find more consolation within this theory of progress.
Yeah, when my rebellious side is very intense and the question of merit comes at on, why I want merit, I don't want any merit, just sort it out for me and don't give me any merit. And then it comes to me, I'm co-creator. If I don't learn even to use what is being given to me, how I'm going to learn, how I'm going to know to create everything and to have the patience to wait all the other beings to do it themselves.
Yes, so the problem, my rebelliousness, the roots are in my pride, yeah? And when I now know where the roots lie and I know what the problem is, and God created us simple and ignorant, but with all the solutions within, so I learned that the solution of my pride is humbleness and charity. And I go there and train myself so that I enlighten myself, and then I don't need to question that much about God. I follow His will. Is that making sense?
It seems simple.
Okay. Are we okay with the question? Now we move to 960, which still is within the chapter Hopes and Consolations under the subtitle Future Joys and Sorrows. And the sub-item within, the intuition of the future joys and sorrows. Before we carry on exploring the questions, intuition within the eyes of immortal being.
For me, what comes is what it said before, that we have this inner voice, this inner knowledge within us that God didn't give us for nothing, is to guide us in the right way. And once I'm doing something, if I stop and I really question myself, I do have the instinct that that will bring me joy or will bring me sorrow. I may not be able yet to, on the phase I'm going through now, to understand what I need to do instead. But I already know that that's not right.
Okay, good. Anybody else?
I think it's the laws of God that we bring between us and wrong. We may choose to listen to it or not, but we know.
Correct. So we are when we say intuition means The intuition is the knowledge that we have acquired already, and also since the creation we bring the God's laws within ourselves. So when we really go through the self-development of self-awareness, we become aware when we listen to ourselves, when we are doing things in a correct way or not. Because the joys in the future could be the next moment, the next day, the next month, the next existences, depend how we engage with us in relation to the natural laws in the present. Yeah? So joys or sorrows means when we take the right path, it will be a pathway of joys. When we as learners take the wrong path, we may have sorrows that we look and address and learn and overcome it. Okay? So let's then start with the first question, 960. Cynthia, would you first? How do we understand the question currently? Where does the belief in future rewards and punishments, and which is found in all cultures, come from? How could we say the question in different words?
Asking us what is the explanation for this knowledge that we all have in different cultures, that word or punishment somehow, somewhere, according to how we doing, choosing things, because it doesn't come from culture, because we have different cultures everywhere. So if we go everywhere, we notice this knowledge, more or less. And so where it comes from.
Yes, where it comes from, precisely. So let's see what we learn by the Enlightened Spirits when they say, it is always the same thing, a presentiment of reality imparted to human beings by their spirit. You should know that it is not uselessly that an inner voice speaks to you. Your mistake is in not listening to it. If you thought well and frequently about this, you would make yourselves better. So what do we learn now here as immortal beings who are evolving? Presentiment, they are referring again here, yeah? Because we are not the physical body. This presentiment or this intuition, as we referred previously, it is based on our perispiritual memory or our unconscious memory as immortal beings that we bring with us. Anything else? And also the benefactors are inviting us to learn to listen to ourselves more, isn't it? How do we learn to listen to ourselves more? Or what do they mean by that when they say, your mistake is in not listening to it?
I believe the way is for me first to quiet myself from all the noise in my head and in all the rushing in the daily life, to make space for being quiet and listening to the inside of me. Because sometimes we have so many thoughts, so many knowledge and understanding in our head that we don't quieten them down to really listen deeply, and we may get confused in some ways because we let our rationality in the old man take over the one we know now. So when the sentiment comes and I give into the old thoughts, I don't let the new ones come across and question them and help me to make a better choice now. So if I learn to stop myself in a daily basis, in throughout the day, in hours and minutes, and be listening more to what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling and what goes according to what, then I will be more able to deal with this.
So we need to learn to open inner space. Is that what they are saying? Anything that came to you?
I also get the point that this has an influence on us. So, but we can always choose to be. This is when this inner voice is always telling us, okay, this is not. It's like this is not the way, but we might choose to give up to our passions instead of listening to this voice. But it's always there.
It's always there. That is a very important point. We studied that on Monday. Was it on Monday? I think it was on Monday in the Gospel that we have been studying about the scale of the evolution in the Spirit's book that we learn. And then we see that in the inferior level of classification, where Earth still is and where we are, therefore, what predominates is the matter over the spirit. And we are here precisely for us to re-educate ourselves that we spiritualize our matter. that we strengthen the spiritual values within ourselves. And then when we do that, because we discrystallize, let's say, our old conditionings, naturally we will open more space, psychically speaking. We are freer instead of being so intoxicated intellectually.
And we end up using reason to justify our egoistic choices.
That reminds other question in the Spirit's book, which is a 75, if I'm not wrong, A, where it says, why not always reasoning is, I forgot the name now, not always is correct, let's say. And then the Enlightened Spirits refer to is not always correct because of our bad education that we received throughout centuries, which were based on selfishness and pride. And that is what we need to challenge these days, because it's not because that we are in a stage of reasoning, or reasoning is according to the natural laws. And that is what we need to review on daily basis. Yeah.
Because I believe when this voice speaks to me, it comes across my wrong reasoning that I've learned in the wrong path. And if I'm not aware of this voice coming up, I may let the older one frighten it out.
Yeah.
And it's easier to do that because I've been on this autopilot for a long time.
Yeah.
But now, as she said, if I come every day bringing this new knowledge and this new way of thinking, and I won't just let this happen anymore.
It won't, because as more as we choose, again, choose, the evolution doesn't happen on obligation level. The evolution or the progress happens on a free choice that the spirit, immortal being, chooses now to feed itself more on the spiritual level, to learn more. And as more as we study, our minds on a conscious level, and then we choose to discern what is better for us within these teachings that the Enlightened Spirits brings us. And then we choose, although we feel it, but we choose not to do anymore. It's a free choice. We choose to go and do what is good for us and what is good for others in the present and also in the future. And in that way, we are reprogramming our memory, and we are participating in that consciously.
I have a question. I know that obviously on Earth we are all progressing, and we know that we can educate on free will. I know the importance of these studies for us to move on, to learn. But why sometimes people, it seems that they stop on time? Because I met one person, and the way that we were talking, and then for me, I felt that she was living. She was 43 now, but she was living in the same way when she was at 17. And I think unconsciously she was still there. But why do we stop? Like, it seems that we stop on time.
That happens with a lot of us, and can happen even with us, and probably happened many centuries back with all of us. Why? Because the knowledge is not new what we are studying. The new is only the way that is presented within Spiritism. But why do we not do what we're supposed to do if we know it? Because we know it on an intellectual level, Cynthia. But we have within the emotional memory where we are attached to the previous experiences. And unless we choose on what we learn on intellectual level and go and behave according to that, we are not tackling the old emotional responses. And then sooner or later we are all tested, and bear in mind that testing means internally. We need to prove to ourselves that what I'm studying, I choose now to live according to it. And if I'm not conscious that and I don't want to do it, I will still feel pleasure on my old passions where my emotions or pretty much my instincts is still prevail. So we need to be conscious, and that is what the Spiritism proposes us, more and more, developing the faculty of freedom according what it means actually, because we learned and used it in a very wrong way. We learned it quite often throughout centuries that free means to do what I want to, and now I need to address that and change that freedom actually is only when I within re-educate myself as a mortal being according to the natural laws in life. And that means re-educate myself within, and that is only official if I'm capable to extend that through my behavior, through my actions. So the major reason is because we are learning quicker at the beginning on intellectual level, but we bring the old man, let's say, all the old tendencies on the emotional level, which is the greatest struggle for our knowledge, but yes, to develop our emotional intelligence. And that only happens via the behavior, via the new action that each and every one of us chooses.
Is it depression or is it not? Or is
What?
it different? Is it because the person is depressing or is it different in every case?
Could be very different for different reasons. Some people could be very depressed, and then when we study depression, of course, there are different reasons and different ways of looking at it. But in general, also it is depression. We already neglected previous experiences of self-renewal, and as everything accumulates in our psyche, that becomes a torment internally. It becomes so heavy, the negative energy that we bring with us. It's easier than to give excuses. It's easy to neglect a new opportunity. Could be depression, could be excuses, could be the ego's defense mechanisms, could also be the obsessions that we all have, brothers and sisters, lived together in previous existences and we didn't do it good, let's say. We didn't help them and they still may not learn to love us and they don't like us to seek the light. So they also, let's say, if we allow, they also impede us to think rationally, us to follow the pathway which we are coming to earth to follow. So there are different reasons, but the different reasons, they all show that we, in one way or another, are not training or exercising our own free will as unique beings in the universe. Because we bring that power within. We can do that. Is that right?
I believe the difficulty for us in these cases is to make new choices and to put ourselves in the efforts of living them. Because every time we have this voice within us telling us we're going on the wrong way and we have to face our fears, our beliefs, our then we may choose to, okay, it's too much work, I'm just going to do it and repeat it, and even if I'm not here studying Spiritism, life brings to me new knowledges, new examples of what I'm doing in my life and how I should go on. And it's difficult to make the new choices because we want to be lazy and stay there
Yes,
and let things
it is
go.
the defense mechanisms, as I said, and one of them that you just pointed out is the moral laziness. And it's important that we say moral laziness, because that is behind of our laziness as incarnate spirits. Yes, the moral laziness, the inferior passions, which is still in this stage predominates a lot of people that we saw on this matter over the spirit. So we, for centuries and centuries, we still bring the memory of the inferior passions. And that means that we are quite immature psychologically, emotionally, and therefore spiritually. We are quite infantile in terms of perceiving what life actually is. Is that making sense? It's almost like a child when we put ourselves as a child and we look life, we see it in a completely wrong way. Yeah. But it's not that we are young, spiritually speaking, because we are old beings, but we haven't matured psychologically emotionally. That's different.
Okay. I was going to bring that up because I believe it's very childish of me to still have some crystallized ways of living and thinking. And as I was acknowledging myself of how I live my life, and I can see many patterns of being childish. And then I think, why do I do it this way? Why does it this way that seems right to me? And then every time you say it's the moral laziness,
Is the moral.
the moral does not develop
Yes.
the maturity of the being, not the maturity of, because I'm being living
Centuries and
centuries and centuries, having experiences and I keep bringing that the same way. And it's still nowadays, I look at, I think, oh my gosh, I'm over 40 and I still do things like at 10 years old. And then when I think I must be aware of this to change this behavior, otherwise I'm going to come back again.
We just repeat in the automatic pilot what we always did. So we need to be attentive of our inferior passions, which is still are pretty much based on the sensorial memory. That is what we need to re-educate yourselves. Okay? Can we move on then here? Let's move on then on the question 961. Flor, Denise, read it for us, please.
At the moment of death, what is the dominant sentiment in most people? Doubt, fear, or hope?
Then the question. At the moment of death,
What do we do when we die?
but that's good. What do we exactly? What do we feel when we die?
What is more scary?
What's more scary?
The fear or the hope?
Okay. But if we bring it back to us, what is more scary for us when we think we die? I say when we think we die because we know in reality that we don't die. But when our
In a whole, all the efforts that has been put on together for me in this, that there's much more I could have been learning and worked out on myself that would help me to be in a better way time. But I wasted a lot. And that if I die tomorrow, then there's a lot of job I haven't done, although I had the opportunity. So that scares me.
So what scares us is it the doubt, I really be alive? Will life continue? And if so, how will that be? Yeah, could be quite scary if I think about that, if I don't have to look at it. And the fear, as you said, perhaps I may reach the point to depart, and the fear that I look back and may not have take advantage of the time and opportunities that life granted to me. Or hope. Hope. What does hope remind us?
Hope is still very far away from me.
Far away?
Yes.
But how
Because when I think, if I die tomorrow, will I be able at least to leave my son and my husband alone? Or would I be
please, Claudine,
so mad in this madness of taking care of them and taking care of them that I will,
So you still have some years now forward. Let go. Because then we are ready. Can we reach already a state of hope internally when we consider our death? When we consider our physical death, can we develop a hopeful state of mind?
I think within the studies, it becomes more possible for me every time.
Okay, let's see.
Because every time I say, this is happening and God is there, someone will be there to help me, to guide me, even if I don't see.
Okay. Let's see what the Enlightened Spirits say. They say, doubt for hard-hearted skeptics. They are very straightforward. You can see it's very simple. Fear for the guilty. And hope for the good. So let's explore. What do we understand when they say doubt for the hard-hearted skeptics? There are three different groups that they are putting here. Yeah?
The spirits that comes to the different sheep and they don't know they are already the physical body already died.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's why.
But hard-hearted, what is that? The indifferent ones. All of us who are on earth, who are indifferent, who are full of pride and vanity, arrogance, prepotence.
I think of the times that, I just delete things in a daily basis that, I don't want to care of that. I don't want to deal with that. And I just delete them. But then tomorrow they are in the back of my mind and I act according to that. And then, like I said, taking care of my son or being protective towards him, then if I pass away and I don't have the knowledge that I did, I may just think I need to go and do that because my heart is like stoned in that way that I'm living that all the time.
Because when we look in that way, it's not because you are a caring mother that happens. It is because you are attached to your son and husband. And why do we become attached? Because we are controlling. And why are we controlling? Because we are selfish. Go back to the roots, yeah?
Because when they say skeptics, it comes to me in this way that I don't believe in God and that He's in driving of everything, that I have to go and do it. I don't believe things comes when they need it and in the way we need. I think I need to go for them and make them and do them.
Control.
And I'm skeptic to believe in the goodness. So If I don't do that, if I don't open my heart and my mind for this, then I just see things.
We will carry on as we always study. Once we free ourselves from the physical body, which is a natural process, we will carry on psychological and emotional exactly as we are here. Psychological and emotional change does not happen when we free ourselves from the physical body. It happens when we engage in actualizing ourselves. And what do we think when we say fear for the guilty? Why could someone feel guilty?
For me,
Do spirits, when we read literature or work mystically, do we learn through them there are spirits who feel guilty? And about what? What brings guilt to the spirit?
I believe it's the distance from God and wasting the opportunities.
Okay, distance from God, wasting the opportunity to grow, not fulfilling my duties, my tasks that I asked to come back to the school earth and to do in order for me to evolve and to progress. That is a great reason of guilt that we bring in. And also when we can reflect about guilt on earth. Are people feeling guilty sometimes?
Yeah.
To extremes. And why is that? When we look the roots of guilt, where does it lead us to? Lack of responsibility and excess of what? Usually we are also talking about pride. We feel guilty because we didn't do. So how do we sort out the guilt? What is the opposite of pride and selfishness? They go together. Humbleness and charity. As more as we learn to love ourselves, accepting us as beings of goodness that we all are, imperfect, perfecting ourselves, then there is no reason for us to feel guilty. We just need to take responsibility, which is the internal autonomy to make new, good resolutions and then choose to live in a different way. And if that happens with us while in the flesh, or even when we leave the body, and when we notice that we are in the circle of guilt, do the same. Because wherever we are, we always have the opportunity to re-educate ourselves, to redo our ways of living, because God is love and loves us all and helps us all in any moment. And then, and hope for the good. Please give us examples. How do we feel hopeful when we free ourselves from the physical body? And the spirits say hope for the good. Who are the good? So that we can learn also the good.
Yeah, but through reading and listening to other people talking and giving examples, I believe the good is the ones that do their efforts, may not have freed themselves of their shadows and their instincts yet, but they are doing the effort. They have the conscience that they are working on it, and they have hope that within a bit more they will overcome those difficulties, those instincts that we still bringing within us. But because they have the knowledge of all the efforts they have been doing and that they are gathering more and more, I'll see,
Help.
Mm-hmm. So they're gathering more help through their own efforts, then they have hope.
Anybody else? Apart from what has been said, how do we feel hopeful, even in this existence in the present? Because a lot of people do not feel hopeful, isn't it? So how do we develop hope? Living on earth, planet, trial, and expiation, still the matter predominates over spirit. The imperfections still predominate. How can we feel hopeful? You look at me just speaking something very strange. Mysterious subject.
I don't know how to condition ourselves to do good. It's like not the merits, but the consequences before. Because we have this inner feeling that it gives us some feedback that we are doing good.
Precisely. So how do we develop goodness? Learning as we are doing constantly about the natural laws in life, And the good here does not mean what is good for me in a selfish way. That is not good. The good means what is good for me and for everyone today, tomorrow, and always. And as long as we exercise ourselves in that, the exercise means developing the virtues within, which are the real values. And in that way, we already activate these, let's say, divine, powerful resources within. And we are convincing us internally, even if we don't know it objectively, but we feel hopeful, we feel peaceful, we feel okay, we don't fear what lies ahead. We know that we are immortal. We know that we are doing the best that we can here and now. We know consciously, it is the case, that I'm taking responsibility to invest in my spiritual development. In any moment what life is presenting me, a possibility that I can say no or yes, and I choose to say yes in order to progress and put effort into, that is the way forward.
I believe we learn in two ways. One way is I study and I learn is the right thing to do, and I go and do that because consciously I know it's the right way and I put the effort to do it right. Or I go and do the right thing, even if I don't really much understand or have studied about it, but because I can have that feeling of seeing that is the right thing, and I do, and I'm doing, and then I learn the meaning and the purpose of that through the experience.
See, the action level or the behavior level is always the linking point between what we learn intellectually and what we learned, which is an emotional memory. So there is the need for all of us to go through the testimonies, as we say, on the experiential level, to testify the new ways of being, so that we redo what we learned and is imprinted in our unconscious memory.
I believe for too long we have been using the excuse that the matter overrides the spirit, when we now know that we give into the matter experiences because we bring those within our spirit,
Yes.
within the soul. So it's me who have that defective, let's say. So it's not the world that brings that to me. I bring that in, and the world gives me the opportunity to experience it or to overcome it.
Yes, it's almost like we bring that old tendencies from the materialistic way of living for the instinctive way of living, which we all come from through a natural process of progress. But here we are again within the material world, and everything is, let's say, good from God's eyes, but we are here to learn to interact with matter, but from a viewpoint as immortal beings, where we activate internally our understanding as immortal beings, and I'm free because God gave me the faculty of freedom to choose, because He wants me that I choose to promote myself consciously. So although I may feel like doing that, I choose not to, because I understand the reasons. Because I choose to promote myself spiritually. I choose to become better. Because doing good, being good, that's good for us in the first place.
When we hear studying, it seems so simple, so easy to do and to remember it and do it. But when life brings the opportunity,
The challenges.
then we like, where is everything I've learned?
We learned the other day in André Luis' books, and he was saying, because he was presenting a scenario there, that someone was in need of help, and then he helped, and then suddenly the spirit came back to the physical body, and he was really not good, feeling good, and he started screaming, and then family members came, and everything was there, and then he said, well, when the incarnates start to wake up about the process, we already did our job. Fantastic. We already worked. We already did it. That's a funny area. It's interesting, yeah. Okay, let's move on to the question 962, which says, why are there skeptics since the soul brings the sentiment of the spiritual things to everyone? What is this question about now? Why are there skeptics since the soul, the spirit, brings the sentiment of spiritual things to everyone? It's an interesting question that Allan Kardec raised, isn't it?
If we have the intuition about the spiritual life, why we still not believe it?
Correct. And then the Spirit say to us, there are fewer skeptics than you may think. During life, Many pretend they are both out of pride, but at the moment of death, they cease being boastful. What do we learn here now? But the moment of death, they cease to be stupid, I think I want to say. So,
it brought to me now a memory of a relative that used to say that
a relative,
a relative, yeah, used to say God doesn't exist, and used to, give all the arguments to prove that. And in the face of a illness of a dear one, it came into like, on the desperation moment, it turned to God. And afterwards said, now I know why you all believe in God, because I found that something I didn't have before. And I cannot explain it now, because before I have all the reasoning, but once that enlightenment came into me, now I cannot use that reasoning anymore. And I think this is how, the ones that choose to turn a blind eye into this voice that comes within us to live whatever I want, however I want. When the time comes, it cannot hold on to that anymore.
It cannot. And also a lot of us may say that we are skeptics, but when we go through certain experiences, then we say, oh, thank God it didn't happen. So again, where is that coming from?
We speak without even knowing.
Precisely. That shows that unconsciously we bring that wisdom within. But consciously we are not aware of it. Okay? Then the next question, the note regarding the question 962 is, the consequences of the future life stem from the responsibility for our acts. Regarding the appointment of the happiness to which all aspire, reason and justice tells us that the good and the wicked could not possibly be mixed together. God could not will for some to enjoy good things without effort, while willing for others to obtain them only through effort and perseverance. What comes to us here?
Consequences stem from the responsibility for our acts. Is, as you said before, when one do think that I have a free will, I'm free to do whatever I want, or I'm free to do what I know is best, what I know I need, what I know is real for me, and not what the my illusions bring upon for me. Because as I act on that, I will have
the consequences that we may cause sufferings in our lives which are unnecessary if we take some time to reflect honestly with what are the deep intentions behind our motivations. Anything else that comes to us? It's really shown very clearly that God is loving and merciful, and He loves us all, but He has laws given to us since our creation, and those laws are guiding us, and they are very just. When we say here, I cannot be a good person if I'm not willing to put the effort into to develop goodness within. So the one who is putting the effort in is better than I am. But it's not because God created one better than the other. Only people, spirits, use their free will in different ways. And that is quite consoling and hopeful for us who are here in the flesh or not. We can always choose to re-educate ourselves spiritually, to choose to do different, to choose to do good, because doing good for others, first of all, is good for us, because we are promoting us in the scale of evolution, and we activate the law of cause and effect in terms of goodness. The consequences is more peace of mind, is better health, is strength on a moral level, that we feel more encouraged to testify whatever we need to testify as learners of ourselves, not that something is imposed on us. We choose what we need in order to learn and to grow.
I think when it says there that all happiness that all aspire cannot be mixed with the wicked, it brings to me, once I give out the responsibility of my life, of my existence, to God or to whatever, I'm saying that I'm not capable. I don't have how, that life, or God has to make that for me so I can be where the others are. Because inside me, maybe I believe that God has favored some. So I need to bring that knowledge that we are all created the same, and we do our steps slowly and small, but it's bringing us.
But constant and with perseverance, as they say here. The important point for all of us is to learn to observe in case we are in the victim position. That is a disempowering position and is an illusion position, because we are all very powerful beings in the universe when we connect ourselves with our essence, which the essence is love, which comes from God. So whatever we haven't learned, we all can learn. We all can do better, as the case is here. And we all can develop hope from within, so that we carry on as learners, learning that through the learning we do mistakes. We accept mistakes as part of the learning. We forgive ourselves, which is part of learning to love ourselves, and we learn to do it differently next time around. So we don't need to feel guilt in relation with when the mistakes happen, neither blame ourselves, but always invest persistently in overcoming our shadows or imperfections, because we all bring the capacity within us. So in that way, we are coming to the end today. And as always, we close our meeting with a prayer, giving thanks to God, the creator of everything and everyone, for this unique and enlightened experience in our existences, ourselves and all of those in His Spirit one with us, all of those who just reincarnated and those who are on the journey of reincarnation on earth. Our gratitude for everything in our lives, for the good news brought by Jesus through the enlightened spirits on earth, for the blessings of every day in our existences, for the blessings of these Spiritist Center, these studies that helps us to enlighten our hearts and minds, as we continue to learn through the reflections, deepening our understanding, is strengthening us within the laws in the universe, which are laws of harmony, laws of peace, laws of love. May we all, as brothers and sisters in humanity, listen to the deep voice within, the inner wisdom that comes from God, that we all are beings of love, learning to love ourselves, to love others, to love God and love life, as we continue to progress together, is strengthening us, persisting every moment, and learning to believe in us. We can change, always for better, today, tomorrow, and always. So be it.